Hello dear colleagues and welcome back to my channel. In today's lesson, we're going to learn the alphabet with professions. So basically, we will go through 26 professions from A to Z. As you can see here, I prepared some flashcards for you, which I will use throughout the lesson. And of course, all the flashcards are available for download in the description below. So let's start with the first letter of the alphabet. That is A. We have an architect here. So an architect is a specialist who plans and designs buildings, bridges, interiors, landscapes, and other physical structures. The second flashcard shows us an astronaut. So an astronaut is a person who travels in a spacecraft and often carries out scientific research in outer space. Going further with A, we have an actor. So an actor is a person whose profession is acting, especially on the stage or in films and television. The next flashcard has two professions. That is an accountant and an actress. So an accountant is a person whose job is to keep and inspect financial records, especially of a business. And an actress is a female actor. Okay, moving on to the next letter of the alphabet. That is B. We have a baker. So a baker is a person whose job is to bake bread, cakes, pastries, and so on. Next, we have a banker. So a banker is a person who works in a bank and deals with the management of money. The next profession begins with the letter R. That is a bus driver. So a bus driver is a person whose job is to drive a bus. Next, we have a carpenter. So a carpenter is a person whose job is to make or repair things, especially furniture and other wooden objects. Moving on to the next letter, that is C, we have a chef. So a chef is a person who is in charge of all the food preparation in a restaurant or hotel. So he or she oversees all the cooking activities. Next, we have a civil engineer. So a civil engineer is a person who is in charge of designing and supervising the construction of roads, bridges, buildings, and other civil projects. The next profession begins with the letter D, that is a doctor. So a doctor is a person who is qualified to practice medicine. Next, we have a dentist. So a dentist is a person whose job is to treat diseases of the teeth. Next, we have a designer. So a designer is a person whose job is to plan and project the form and appearance of objects. It can be a graphic designer, fashion designer, interior designer, industrial designer, and so on. Now let's move on to the next letter. That is E, engineer. So an engineer is a person who specializes in the application of scientific and mathematical principles to design and develop structures, machines, systems, and processes. There are many types of engineers like civil engineer, electrical engineer, mechanical engineer, and so on. Moving on to the next letter, that is F, we have a farmer. So a farmer is a person who owns or manages a farm. So a farmer cultivates the soil, takes care of crops and animals, etc. Next, we have a firefighter. So a firefighter is a member of a service that deals with fires, especially one that is employed to put out fires and rescue people from burning buildings. Now let's move on to the next letter of the alphabet. That is G. We have a gardener. So a gardener is a person whose job is to take care of gardens and grow flowers, vegetables, and fruit. Next, we have a general manager. So a general manager is a person who is in charge of the operation of an organization or department. The next profession begins with the letter H. That is a hairdresser. So a hairdresser is a person whose job is to cut, wash, and dress people's hair. The next letter is I. And we have an investor. So an investor is a person who invests money in something with the expectation of making a profit. The next profession starts with the letter J. That is a journalist. So a journalist is a person whose job is to collect and especially write news. Now let's move on to the next letter. That is K. And we have a killer. So a killer is a person who commits murder in a cold-blooded way. The next profession begins with the letter L. That is a lawyer. So a lawyer is a person whose job is to advise and represent clients in legal matters. The next profession starts with the letter M. That is a manager. So a manager is a person who controls and organizes the work of a department or an entire company. The next flashcard shows us two professions. That is a man and a mechanic. So a mechanic is a person whose job is to repair machines, engines, etc. And a man is an adult male human. Moving on to the next letter, that is N. We have a nurse. So a nurse is a person who works in a hospital and is in charge of taking care of patients. Next, we have a novelist. So a novelist is a writer of novels. The next profession starts with the letter O. That is an office worker. So an office worker is a person who works in an office doing clerical work. Now let's move on to the next letter. That is P. And we have a painter. So a painter is a person who paints pictures. The next profession starts with the letter Q. That is a quality controller. So a quality controller is a person responsible for making sure that products meet acceptable standards. Moving on to the next letter, that is R. We have a reporter. So a reporter is a person who writes and reports news. Next, we have a researcher. So a researcher is a person who conducts research. Now let's move on to the next letter of the alphabet. That is S. We have a secretary. So a secretary is a person employed to perform administrative duties in an office. The next profession starts with the letter T. That is a teacher. So a teacher is a person whose job is to teach students in school, college, university, etc. Next, we have a tailor. So a tailor is a person whose job is to make, repair, and alter clothes. Moving on to the next letter, that is U. We have an Uber driver. So an Uber driver is a person who drives a car for Uber. Next, we have an unemployed person. So an unemployed person is a person who is not working, but is looking for a job. Moving on to the next letter, that is V. We have a vet. So a vet is a person whose job is to take care of sick or injured animals. The next letter is W. And we have a waiter. So a waiter is a person who serves customers in a restaurant. The next profession starts with the letter X. That is an X-ray technician. So an X-ray technician is a person who takes and develops X-ray pictures. Moving on to the next letter, that is Y. We have a yoga instructor. So a yoga instructor is a person who teaches yoga. The last letter of the alphabet is Z, and we have a zookeeper. So a zookeeper is a person whose job is to take care of the animals in a zoo. Okay, now that you have learned all the professions from A to Z, it's time to test your knowledge. I have prepared some questions for you, and all the answers are provided on your screens. Question number 1. What does a baker do? The answer is, a baker is a person whose job is to bake bread, cakes, pastries, and so on. Question number 2. Who travels in a spacecraft? The answer is an astronaut. Question number 3. What do you call a person who teaches yoga? The answer is a yoga instructor. Question number 4. Who is in charge of all the food preparation in a restaurant or a hotel? The answer is a chef. Question number 5. Who works in a bank and deals with the management of money? The answer is a banker. Question number 6. What do you call the person who designs and develops structures, machines, and processes? The answer is an engineer. Question number 7. Who is a person whose job is to cut, wash, and dress people's hair? The answer is a hairdresser. Question number 8. Who is a person who invests money in something with the expectation of making a profit? The answer is an investor. Question number 9. Who is a person who advises and represents clients in legal matters? The answer is a lawyer. Question number 10. Who is a person who conducts research? The answer is a researcher. Question number 11. Who takes care of sick or injured animals? The answer is a vet. Question number 12. Who is a person who takes and develops X-ray pictures? The answer is an X-ray technician. Question number 13. What do you call the person who manages the construction of roads, bridges, and buildings? The answer is a civil engineer. Question number 14. Who is a person who specializes in the application of scientific and mathematical principles to design and develop structures, machines, and processes? The answer is an engineer. Question number 15. Who is a person who works in a hospital and is in charge of taking care of patients? The answer is a nurse. Thank you very much for watching this lesson till the end. If you liked the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. See you soon. Bye. Bye.